in 1, 2, 3. Amen. The minute you give God a yes, it's like everybody else tries to turn you down, they deny you. Amen, somebody. Amen. And if you don't understand what's going on, if you're not careful, you will become homicidal and suicidal. You will be depressed, you will be oppressed, you will go from praising God to now cursing God and dying. Look at me, I say, you ain't got to curse God and die. Look behind you, say, you can bless God and live. God, is going to get the glory out of this. Cancer wasn't to kill you. It was for God to get the glory. The sickness wasn't to kill you. You losing the job and losing the home and losing your check, losing your finance wasn't to destroy you. It was to make you better. A lot of this in this message God has given me. One thing about Christendom, I believe it's built on what we call a paradox. Paradox is a contradiction of facts, but it still is true. And many times you got to make sense out of nonsense. How can I be sick, but then God say I'm healed? Many times when you serve, you're really the greatest. When you die is when you really live. When the enemy says you're broke, that's when you're really blessed. I'm going to make a whole lot of points in this message. That's why you can't view things in the natural. Look at somebody say, things are not as they appear. One thing I like about, I'm going to close here. One thing I like about this Shunammite woman was, you've got to have the same type of attitude. Her son dies, but she never once sits there and ponders burying him. First thing she does is she puts him in the bed of the man of God. We are so easy and so quick to give up when we look at something that once it dies. She never once allowed it to say, okay, this is what it is. He's dead. Let's bury him. No, I've got to get to the prophet. I've got to touch the thing that touches God. I can't touch Jesus myself. I've got to touch the closest thing to Jesus. Look at somebody and say, neighbor, you give up right before the breakthrough and the breakout. You know, I know the good dance right there. I'm going to try it again. Maybe y'all are here. Look at somebody and say, neighbor, you give up too easy. The first time you denied, honey, you go back home and you begin to cry pity party. But what I like about God, and I preached this message years ago, God will give you a yes in a no situation. Look at somebody and say, your promise might have died, but you got to be able to believe God that he can do it again. Next week on how God did it. You got to latch a hold of faith that if he did it for somebody else, they'll know better than me. He'll do it for me too. I'll tell you about this. I'm closing. But I know a lot more people are going to come in because of Lorraine is, amen, slacking up now. But I'm closing and I thank God for y'all people of God. Amen. I'll pick this back up next week. But a whole lot of times we are so easy to backslide, to murmur, to complain. You got to be so careful. When there are things that's going on in your life that you don't understand, it looks like it's nonsense, you got to guard this mouth gate. Because the worst thing to do is to speak closure over a situation that God is working in. Understand that. You got the God that comes out of your mouth. Look at somebody say, if you change your words, you'll change your word. That means if you change what you say, you will change what you see. You know what I said? Look at somebody say, if you change what you say, you will change what you see. I stand on here. I'm going to pick this back up and preach. I'm going to preach hell out of y'all next week. I ain't still y'all. Because she could have said, he's dead. Let's bury him. But what she did was, on the way to the man of God, Jehanna runs out. He said, is it well with you? Is it well with your husband? Is it well with your son? She said, it is well. Well, in the Hebrew, it means shalom. That means it's going according to plan. She was simply saying, if my easy to say, I don't feel good. I don't know how we gonna make it. I don't know how we gonna pay these bills. Like, I just can't take no more. Things can't get no worse. And you realize when you say that, things get a whole lot more worse. Have you ever said it like it's something all the time? If it ain't one thing, it's enough. Somebody say, shut your mouth. You are snared by the words of your mouth. The Bible says death and life, life in the power of your tongue. My aunt used to say it like this. She said, I can have just what I say. It's up to you. When she said it is well, well had the apprehender, well had the apprehender, well had the apprehender son. He was dead, but he was wow, wow, wow. Somebody say, I'll preach that next week. Many times, see, your problem is you said it was all right one time, and because it didn't change, you gave up.
Go ahead.
God said your son was going to be saved, but he's still out there selling drugs, so you gave up. Look at me, I said, the devil is a liar. Can you slap somebody and say, I'm not giving up that easy? God said you were going to get married and one joker left you. That ain't the only joker in town. Look at me, I said, I ain't giving up that easy. But many times you might not get what you want when you want it. But I heard a song say he's an on-time God. I like to say he's not an on-time God, but he'll come in time every time. He's the only one that can leave late and still arrive early. Slap somebody, say he's the only one that can leave late according to man and still arrive early. Tell your neighbor you got to make sense in what seems nonsense. Yeah, they're asking you, did you lose your house? You can say it's well. Did you lose your job? It's well. Did he walk out on you? It's well. Make your money back in pay? Well. They're talking about you? Well. You can ridicule you? Well. Can I sweep it all? Well. I ain't rocking it. Well. 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 Wow. Well. Wow. Well. Like what I say. I'll preach it next week. You can take a seat. I'll preach it next week. Look at somebody right in their face and say, neighbor, it's according to what you say out of your mouth. Can I pause? Can I pause prophetically here? See, your problem is you ain't on everybody else to speak over your life. You ain't on everybody else to validate and approve you. If no man say nothing about it, I'll say it. They'll make you feel like because you hadn't made it to TD Jake's platform, you'll know about it. Look, I say, it is well. If I never preached for Jake's,